Hi, I'm Ben, welcome back to my channel. I am imminently about to go on a week's holiday to Portugal. My bags are packed just there, but I plan to be doing nothing except reading, doing a bit of writing, and having maybe the odd glass of wine, hopefully some good food too. I am filming this just before I go, but by the time you see this, sadly my trip will already be over. But I don't have much time, we are leaving in just a few hours, and I am not quite finished with the last bits of packing, including choosing which books I'm going to take with me. But I wanted to make a quick video before I go, and the speediest of speedy videos is to do a book haul. Luckily, this last weekend I had the wonderful opportunity to get my hands on some books because I had the lovely experience of meeting up with some other booktubers. We spent a whole weekend together, one day in Bath and one day in Bristol, and it was just really nice. Katie Lumsden, who is an author and has the channel Books and Things, made this weekend happen. But as one of the days was in Bristol, I did muscle my way into organising the route for that day. It was really great to catch up with some people that I have met before, but also to meet some booktubers who I subscribe to but had never met in person. And there were some booktubers who were completely new to me, who were all just lovely. Like, book people are the best people. Despite having this channel where I document my reading life, I'm not really much of a documenter, so I didn't take any photos, but Charlie Brooke took lots, and so she sent me some of them, and I'll put them on screen now while I'm talking. We went to a bunch of indie bookshops across the two cities, and we really are blessed with some great indies here. So it was a good chance to chat about books, to catch up with people just generally, and of course to come away with some new additions to the shelves. So in this video I'm going to tell you about all of the books that I picked up, and then I've got a few more from publishers that I've been sent recently, and a couple of library books that I've taken out that I am very excited about. We started out the Bath day by going to Topping and Company, which is a really beautiful bookshop. It is like, I guess, the platonic form of a bookshop. It's got sort of stacks right up to the ceiling and those bookshelf ladders that you can swing around, and you can climb up them if you want to get to something right at the top. I picked up two books there, both of which were signed, because Topping is also very, very good for signed editions. The first one I grabbed was Lublin by Manya Wilkinson. I think, was this written in English? Was it a translation? I think it was written in English, and this is a book from And Other Stories. It is one that I don't know tons about. I think it follows Russian soldiers as they're walking to a Polish city called Lublin. And the main reason this appeals to me is because Eric Carl Anderson was raving about it. I think he gave this 5 stars. And I think it's supposed to be quite notable for its really good, realistic, believable, but sometimes a little bit gross dialogue. It also recently won the Encore Prize, which I think is a really cool prize because it is for second novels. Like, there's often a lot of pressure on a debut, and if you sort of miss the boat and your debut doesn't go down so well, it can be quite hard to build it up again and get people excited about your second novel. So I think it's really good that there is a prize that celebrates second novels, and this won it. The other one I picked up, look, I am sometimes a bit of a shallow little book vulture, and this is a case where the physical presence of this book just won me over. I grabbed The Silver Book by Olivia Laing, and what I love about this is, one, it is shiny, but these sprayed edges, I'm not always a fan of sprayed edges, but this is my bag. Like, if you're going to do a sprayed edge, make it some weird sort of semi-natural pattern, and I'm in. I think Olivia Laing's probably best known for her non-fiction work. She released The Garden Against Time last year, which a lot of people loved. I have only read Crudo, which was her fiction novella, and it was a really interesting take on sort of the life of Kathy Acker if she lived during Brexit. I don't know if I fully got it, but I did enjoy the experience of reading it. And this is Olivia Laing's latest novel, and this follows a queer romantic story. I was going to say romance then, but it's not a romance. But it's two men in a clandestine relationship set against the backdrop of Italian filmmaking in the mid-70s. So we're talking Fellini, Pasolini. I don't know any more Italian filmmakers from that time, but those are the ones in the blurb. I think it's also supposed to have like literary thriller vibes, but I don't know. I've been won over by how it looks, and we'll see how it is when I read it. After Topping, we went to Mr. B's Emporium of Reading Delights. I think that's the name. Everyone just calls it Mr. B's. And there I picked up a book that I'd been really excited about the release of. I featured it recently in a video I did about books still to come out in 2025 that I was looking forward to. And that book is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaghy. And I don't know tons about this beyond the fact that it is climate fiction and it has had rave reviews from lots and lots of readers. It came out a while ago in the US, so I've seen people reading it and going on about how good it is, people declaring that it's definitely going to be in their top reads of the year. So super intrigued, very happy that it's come straight to paperback in the UK, because that means it's a little bit cheaper and it's a little bit easier to carry around. This is a contender for coming on holiday with me, because I could do with something a little bit propulsive, I think. And as I understand it, this is also a bit of a page turner. Rounding out the trilogy of famous Bath-based bookshops, we also went to Persephone, and Persephone is a publisher that specialises in bringing back to life books that have gone out of print or books that might have been forgotten, particularly books written by women, but they do publish some written by men. And you might recognise them when I hold one up, because they have these beautiful like dove grey covers, and every book has some unique end papers and you get a matching bookmark. I got from Persephone Crooked Cross by Sally Carson. This is one that they published recently, I think earlier this year, and the reason I was interested is because I saw an article in The Guardian expounding on its relevance and importance to modern day political systems. For some reason I thought this was like an alternative history, but it was actually written in 1933, published in 1934, and was apparently quite clear-eyed and prophetic about what was going on in Nazi Germany. It cut through the political discourse of the time in a very brave way. And so I think I'm very interested to see how it reads now. Another book that I'm really intrigued to see how it reads today is The Country Girls by Edna O'Brien. I got this on the second day of the BookTuber meetup. We did some bookshops in Bristol, and I got this from Bookhouse, which is my local bookshop, and I always love to support them. This is written by Edna O'Brien. Did I say that already? I'm not sure. But she died recently. She was an Irish author that was much loved. And this is a special edition of her landmark book. And this was scandalous and transgressive when it was published. And I just really want to know if it still feels transgressive, or if it's going to show to me like how far writing and our tolerance in what we're able to publish and read has moved. I know the answer to that is yes, but I'm interested in the size of that gap. I think this is set in a convent school somewhere in Ireland, but beyond that, and the fact that it tackled some taboos, I don't really know tons more, and I don't think I need to, because people absolutely love Edna O'Brien, so I feel like I'm going to be in good hands. And then the only other book I got from our sort of Bristol leg of the weekend was from the Arnolfini bookshop. The Arnolfini is a gallery that's on like the harbour side of Bristol, and it has a really good indie bookshop attached to it. They always have some really cracking selections and support a lot of small presses and indie publishers. The book I got was not from an indie publisher. It's actually published by Bloomsbury, but it is the paperback edition of Time of the Child by Niall Williams. So we're sticking with Ireland here. This is a book about a doctor born and raised in a little town in Ireland, and this doctor's life is turned upside down when at the start of the 60s a baby is left in his care. It's really interesting to me that this is about a doctor in 1962, which means this is playing out at the exact same time as Andrew Miller's The Land in Winter, which also has a character who is a doctor for a small town. So I kind of like the idea of I'm getting two stories that potentially are going on simultaneously. I don't know if Ireland had the same like very notably cold winter as we had in England that year, but the cover is definitely giving cold vibes. I think this could be a good Christmas read, maybe one to curl up with around not a fire, because I don't have a fire, and neither does my mum, who I normally spend Christmas with. But yeah, one to curl up under a blanket perhaps with. Those are all the books that I got on the BookTuber meetup/book crawl, but I've got a few more I want to talk to you about. Some of these, the next 4, are ones that I've been sent by publishers recently and just wanted to mention. So the first is The Adversary by Michael Crummy. This is a historical fiction set in Newfoundland in Canada, and it's about a rivalry between these different merchants. Yeah, someone who wants to secure dominance over the shore and its rich resources, and he has this plan to get married to someone else, and it sounds quite regal in a way that like kings might marry the princess from another country in order to create an alliance, but then that all goes up in flames, and then it's this apparently very entertaining excavation of power, grievance and retribution, this rivalry between two people that sounds lots of fun. This won the International Dublin Literary Award, is that what it's called? Yes, the Dublin Literary Award, which has had some very notable winners in the past, so I'm very excited to read this and try and complete my set of 2025 prize winners. Oh, and that was sent to me by Serpent's Tail, so thanks very much. Serpent's Tail also sent me another book which has a different publisher on the side, so I suppose it is an imprint, Tusker Rock Press. But this is The Pelican Child by Joy Williams. This was longlisted for the National Book Award for fiction this year. It's short stories. I know that Joy Williams is supposed to be a very inventive writer who spins these weird little tales, and other short story writers that I love also do that, so I think I may well enjoy these, but very interested to see what she has cooked up and why it was nominated for the NBA. So thank you again, Serpent's Tail. I was also recently sent the new book by Jeanette Winterson. Do you know what? I always want to say Jeanette Winterson, but it's Jeanette Winterson. The novelist, I think best known for Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, and she writes a lot of really interesting queer fiction. This is One Aladdin, Two Lamps, and I believe it sort of follows or takes inspiration from the story of Scheherazade, which is, I think it's that the woman who tells a story every night but never quite finishes it so that she gets to live another day. And I think this is one of those like genre bending, is it fiction, is it memoir, is it essay kind of books, and it's looking at the importance of fiction and why we should read fiction, and just generally the power of books to change our fortunes and change our lives. I have to admit this wasn't really on my radar and I was sent it kind of unsolicited, but it does definitely sound interesting. And then finally I was sent by the lovely folks at Faber the 3rd volume of On the Calculation of Volume by Solvej Balle, and this one is translated by different translators. This is translated by Sophia Hersi Smith and Jennifer Russell from the Danish, and I am really intrigued to read this because it felt at the very end of the second book, which I'm going to say I found a slog. It wasn't making me want to carry on with the series, but the very, very, very end, things suddenly seemed to pick up. And I think in the third one, it could really kick off. So I'm going to give this one a go. And hopefully Tara is going to do something about her situation that isn't just sort of fanning around in various different places and countries and whatever else she's doing. By the time you're watching this, this should be out already. But it is at the moment before the 18th of November, and this book does say that it's coming out on the 18th of November, but when I looked it up on Waterstones it said it wasn't out until the 20th. Mixed messaging there, but if you're not familiar, the 18th of November is the day in which the protagonist is stuck, and I'm going to try and read this on the 18th because I will be on holiday, hopefully sipping a glass of port or something, and these are quite short books, so they're quite easy to get through. Then I wanted to talk about a few books that I got recently that I haven't mentioned before on the channel. One is another Persephone, which you'll recognise from the cover immediately. I found this in a charity shop. It is in like perfect condition, and it was like 99p, but this is It's Hard to Be Hip Over 30 by Judith Vjorst, and this is a poetry collection. I don't read tons of poetry, but number one, being over 30, the title just appealed to me, and number two, I read the first couple of poems in the shop and it seemed like it was telling an interesting narrative across the poems. It wasn't a collection of individual isolated poems, and that really intrigued me. I like the idea of an overarching story. I think it seems to be about a marriage that didn't go very well, but we'll see. From the tiny snatches that I've read, it's very prose-like, so this feels like my kind of poetry. Maybe a good way in to read a little bit more in the future. I also visited an indie bookshop that I don't get to go to very often because it's not super near me, but it is near my work, so I don't know why I don't pop there more often. But they always have really interesting selections of books. They have stuff from publishers that don't seem to appear in any other shops that I go in. The shop is East Bristol Books, and I got 2 books from them when I visited on a lunchtime walk. The first one was Ghost Driver by Nell Osborne. I just think this is a really weird little cover that is also gorgeous. Like, the bug under the microscope freaks me out, but it also is very striking. Pink and green, obviously the colour combo of the moment. But this was recommended by the shop because they were having Nell come in to do an event. I sadly can't go because I'll be away. But the book still sounded really good. It's about a woman who basically takes every wrong possible turn, and it's supposed to be part horror story, part tragicomic nightmare. A slim shudder of a novel. I haven't looked up anything else about this novel, and I quite like the idea of going into it sight unseen. The other one I grabbed from EBB is the latest book by Balle Press, which is What Remains by Brais Lamela. This is translated from Galician by Jacob Rogers, and I'm not sure I've read a book in Galician before. This is about a student investigating this brutal resettlement that happened under the Franco regime. Yeah, where they wanted to turn backward, in quotes, country people into modern cattle farmers. And I always like the construct of having a novel where it's someone looking back and investigating things, because it gives you that really interesting historical exploration, but also the ability to reflect on it or see how it parallels in modern life. And also, how can you not be won over by that cover? If you're thinking Balle Press, they sound familiar, you may have heard of them because they released the book There's a Monster Hiding Behind the Door. I may have got that title completely incorrect, but it was the book that was nominated for the International Booker this year. I read that, I really enjoyed it, and it also went on to win the Republic of Consciousness Prize for the UK and Ireland. So yeah, I've got high hopes for the quality bar on the books that they release. Finally then, a couple of library books that I have got on loan at the moment that I'm really looking forward to. And once you know what remains, perhaps you'd like to know who will remain. And this is a new novel from Qasim Ali. He wrote the book Good Intentions, which I have not read, but I have heard positive things about. I really like the cover of this. It's giving sort of state of the nation novel, but about Birmingham. A lot of the time state of the nation novels are set in London, but it's cool to have one outside of the capital. This is about a university student called Amir, who is growing up in quite a difficult part of Birmingham, and then the 2 men who sort of keep him grounded in his life, his brother and his cousin, are suddenly not available to him anymore, and he has to deal with that and grapple with the struggles that he has at university and in his wider life. I'm hoping I can read this before I have to give it back, but no one's reserved it yet, so I'm going to hang on to it for a little while longer. And then the other book that I recently got from the library is The Book of Guilt by Catherine Chidgey, and I've actually just finished this last night because I didn't want to take a library book on holiday with me, and I'll be reviewing this in my next video. But Chidgey is just a terrific storyteller. This is set in the 1970s in an alternative Britain where there was some scientific breakthroughs that happened a bit earlier than in our own world, and we follow these triplets who live in a strange home. People have been raving about this, and I can see why, so I'm looking forward to sharing my review for this one soon. So that's a wrap on this book haul. Hopefully you enjoyed spending some time chatting through some new books. If you've read any of these, I'd love to know what you thought of them, or if there are any that you've never heard of and are now on your radar, do let me know which ones most appeal to you. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit like, and if you'd like to see more from me, then hit subscribe. But for now, I really need to go and finish packing. I've got like half an hour till I'm leaving. So toodles.